Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. Officially, happy Thursday, right? Last time we were here, I was trying to make Tuesday Thursday, and it is officially Thursday. Thank you so much for coming back to the Blueprint. I hope everybody's had a fantastic week. I am super excited about today's conversation. We have a lot to cover and so many things to play catch up on. I have things that I want to share with you. We're going to try to pack it all in this hour and hopefully not go too long over 9 o'clock like we did on Tuesday, though it was wonderful conversation. I'm so excited. Um, so, for anybody who is new, my name is Kim Blue. I am an HR strategist, I am a career coach, and the blueprint is all about professional development, leadership, making sure that you are tapping into all of the things that are going to help you operate at your highest potential, own or add value to the work that you are responsible for, but most importantly, for you to show up as your most authentic self. That's what this space is about. That is why we come here. This podcast is 3 times a week: Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is live streamed on Twitch and on YouTube. So, shout out to anybody who was already watching on YouTube this morning. Um, Happy to have all of you. Man, it has been I was reflecting yesterday. It has been a 5 month journey of just growth and evolution. And I think about where we started, where I was um, sharing things with you all. And now we've evolved this into a full on learning and engagement community where we're now, right? I'm using slides and things I was not using in the morning. And so I say all that to say, just know that anything is possible as long as you start where you are and as long as you are open to saying everything is exactly where it's supposed to be right in this moment. As long as I am continuing to be the boss of my own blueprint and take steps towards that, that's what's most important. So, thank you all for being here. Virtual salute to everyone who is working, lurking, and commuting. I know the mornings is the time where everyone is getting situated for their day. And so, if it is in service to you to not be active in the chat, all good, but certainly welcome the opportunity to shout you out and show you some love because you are an important part of the community, whether you're active or whether you are just listening. So, thank you to everyone who is here. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll jump right in and say good morning to everyone who's here. So, a few reminders. First of all, the last week of this month, the week of Memorial Day, there will be no Blueprint streaming. Taking that week off to just be full-fledged mom with my kiddo as we roll into summer. His summer is only 8 weeks. It is very short. So once we get to the 4th of July, it's pretty much a downward sprint to the start of school. He goes back to school August the 1st. And so I am really trying to use the summer thoughtfully and soak up every moment. And so part of that includes taking a week off and giving myself a chance to kind of refresh and reconnect because by the time the end of this month happens, I will have been streaming steadily for 6 months without a consistent break other than a day or two here and there for being sick and things like that. So, taking that week off. There are some days in June that I've got some business travel, which is really exciting. And so I'm going to work on either having those streams hosted by someone else potentially, or streaming from wherever I am so that you can get an opportunity to get a little bit closer to what it is that I do every day when I am not here teaching you all and connecting with you all in the blueprint space. So keep that in mind in terms of dates and things that are going to change as far as the blueprint is concerned. And then beyond that, just a reminder that you can connect and interact with me on social. By now, hopefully everybody is following on Instagram. I think Jen got a Facebook page up. So for those who are more in the Facebook community, right, you can go there and interact with me on Facebook. I'm trying to get a steady rhythm of how I'm getting content out there and posting things and making sure that there's action across Instagram, across Facebook. Certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. And all of those profiles will be in my channel so that you can find me and stay connected to what's going on. Even if you miss a stream or because Jen has been posting video clips and there's been a lot of interaction. I actually posted yesterday. I had a fantastic offsite yesterday with a client. I spent all day with one of the hospitals here in Atlanta. And it was just amazing to spend time learning from leaders, but also encouraging them and really um, helping to shape what their professional development looks like. So I posted about that yesterday, so you can go see some of my um, experience there. So lots and lots of things are coming. I feel a lot like the things that I have been manifesting are starting to come to fruition. And so just again, thank you to everybody who continues to support this space and support outside the endeavors that I have going on. And then shout out to everybody who has reached out to me outside of this and said, hey, can I talk to you? Hey, do you do this type of work? Or hey, can you do that type of work? That is exactly why I'm here. I want to be available to you in whatever capacity you need it, whether it's in the one-on-one space or whether it's an opportunity to come in and to support whatever work you have outside of Twitch. So thank you to all of you for everything and for supporting this space. We're going to continue to make it great and evolve it in the direction that we want it to be, right? Which is community focused, but more supporting you. So, housekeeping done. Let's jump right in with some greetings to see who's in here. My Life Journey, Misty Christie 214, my mod bosses extraordinaire. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you both. Happy Thursday. Good morning, Jen. Always good to have you. Happy Thursday to you. I hope that you are enjoying time with your family this week. Adds the Great. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome in, Dr. Dady Priest. Always good to see you. Welcome in, Queen. Happy Thursday. Boho Ikigai, good afternoon. How are you, Boho? I saw you say thank you about this message on my shirt. This is really the energy that I am on today, right? It is all about embracing kindness, mindfulness, empathy, joy. And then what is beneath joy, you can't see, it says embrace life and embrace happiness. So it is all of the goodness, right? And I have a very consistent exit mantra that I give whenever we are on our way out, right? I tell everybody that I am sending them into their day with all of the good energy and light that they will need to guide them. And so this is really what that is behind it. And good energy is comprised of giving kindness, right? Being mindful, operating in empathy, right? Embracing joy, embracing your life, and really truly being happiness. So, this shirt today is really setting the tone for how I want to go into these conversations. So, thank you, Barb, for acknowledging that. Let's see, where did I leave off? Hobbs, good morning. Nice to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. Serial Sensei, good morning. Thank you so much for being back. Happy Thursday to you, Tawana. I can't talk this morning. Happy to see you. Thank you. Welcome in. Who else is with us this morning? Martian Queen, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Thursday. Let's see, I got ads. Serial. DJ Purpose, good morning. Nice to see you. Crystal Method, good morning. Welcome in, G Class to DJ. Salute to you, King. Happy Thursday. I hope you're well. Please give G Class to DJ and DJ Purpose 214 a follow if you are not doing so already. Who else came in? A McKee, good morning. Welcome in, my Queen City sister. Nice to see you. Happy Thursday. I hope you are having a good day so far. All right. If I did not say good morning to you, good morning. If folks are still making their way in, always take care of you in whatever way you need to, but feel free to shout out or come in and out of lurk in terms of whatever works for you. We are going to go ahead and get started with today's conversation. And then shout out to anybody who is watching on YouTube as well. Good to see you all. Thank you for being here. So we left off Tuesday talking about motivation, and we were having a really good conversation about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, right? A little bit around the things that internally motivate us and the things that externally motivate us. Externally meaning, what are those outside forces or those outside influences that really get us going versus I don't need, or I may need less of that, if at all. Intrinsically, I got everything in me. Once I've committed to something and I've decided that I want to do it, I am in a place to say, I know what it is that is really moving me. And so now that I've thought about it and I have decided and committed to it, I can now put my focus around it. And when we think about what it means to be motivated, we understand that that's what gives us sort of that wind beneath our wings when we talk about momentum, because this whole theme for May is really about momentum and each of our pillars. Last week, we talked about manifestation. And this week, we're talking about motivation. And what you may notice about manifestation is that once you decide in your mind that you want to do something, that's the beginning of your manifestation journey. Now, each journey of whatever it is that you're manifesting may or may not happen right away. Some things take time. Some things require you to just sit still. Other things require you to take immediate action. And then you're going to end up in some lulls, or what we call fits and starts, right? Where you go really hard and then there's a bit of a pause. And then you may pick up and there may be some activity again. And then there may be a pause in between there. So, E Smiley, good morning. Nice to see you. Welcome in. And so as we think about what happens in those fits and starts where we're going and moving really quickly, and then all of a sudden there's a lull and we have these purposeful moments of rest and pause, we can try to figure out, how do we produce in the pause? How are we growing in the gray? Whatever that moment of stillness is, what can we be doing, or how is that in service to our manifestation journey? In particular, so that we don't lose motivation or momentum for wherever it is that we're going. The call is 06. Welcome in, King. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. If you're not following the call is 06, please do so. Okay. Always good times in his streams for sure. And so we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And I sent everybody in here on a homework assignment on Tuesday, right? Because one reason brought the family over right at the end, and we did the recap. And I sent everybody to this website so that we could really get even more deep into understanding ourselves and our motivations and how we are moving through this journey. Okay. And so I'm going to add the slides to the stream for just a moment so that we can do this. And then we're going to have a conversation about what we learned about ourselves and about how that shows up as it relates to our ability to stay motivated, whether we are manifesting or whether we are not manifesting something. You don't have to be manifesting something to be motivated. It can be an addition to your motivation, but you don't have to be in manifestation mode to be motivated to do something. They can be mutually exclusive. Okay. So here is our roadmap for anybody who wanted to revisit it really quickly. This is what we're talking about and how we are showing up this week as we talk, this month as we talk about momentum, specifically this week. And when we looked at our motivation definitions and we understood the reasons why we are motivated, or the different types of motivation, we talked about internal and external. We talked about social motivations, and we talked about being motivated by power. And I sent everybody in here on a journey to a website called alpfree.com. When I was in graduate school, so my master's degree is in organizational development, and I specialize in working on companies or with people who really want to do things around change management. I do leadership development and I do executive coaching. Now, I can do all types of stuff. I can do theory work, I can do application work, but organizational development is a social science. Social science means studying people, studying their behavior patterns, studying the reasons why they do those. And so I specialize in studying people's behavior patterns inside the workplace, right? So that's where the organization comes in. And then the development piece is how people develop and perform and behave. So when I tell y'all I work in HR, it does not get any more HR than me. I literally chose to study people's behavior inside the workplace. Whatever their workplace is, whether you are an individual and you own your own business, whether you work for a big company, whether you work for a small company. My job is to look at your behavior patterns and then figure out how to get those things working together so that your company or your organization can be successful. So I am a social scientist queen. I am an HR guru. When I tell you I'm out here doing it, I'm doing it because I genuinely love it. This is what gives me motivation, and it's what helps me stay energized. In the midst of understanding our motivators, I sent everybody to this website so that you could get clear on how you show up and where your motivations are. Because sometimes we're motivated and we show up at our best, and other times we show up in our shadow. And we talked about the shadows sort of being that place where we're not operating at our highest potential, right? It's more that dark side where all of those behaviors and all of those things about us that we kind of keep hidden off to the side, or we don't really want to show people. That's what shows up. And sometimes they they come in at the simplest things, right? You could be hungry and show up as inflexible or show up as pessimistic, right? When you're normally pretty calm, right? And you typically have a positive attitude. But it could be something that shows up when our needs are not being met. And when our needs are not being met, it impacts our motivation. The Call 06 says he feels like he's in a shadow period right now. That's very self-aware. Let's jump really quickly to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so this is sort of a modified version of, but that the biggest part of the hierarchy is the bottom. This is, do I have food? Do I have shelter? Right? Am I getting rest? All of the physical things we need to just make sure that our brain and our body are working effectively, right? That we are moving in the direction that we need to just to exist physically. Good morning, Double Spirit. Welcome in. Nice to see you. And so if those needs are met, then we can move up the pyramid and start to go, okay, emotionally, am I feeling safe? Mentally, am I feeling safe to express myself in any type of way and not feeling like I'm going to receive any type of, backlash from that, right? Crystal Method says she is working to come out of it. And listen, folks, we ebb and flow in between shadow periods. It happens all the time. We might, and we might not be deep in the shadow. We might just be in one of our shadow behaviors, but it might be an extended period of time because until our safety pyramid or our hierarchy of needs is really stable, our shadow will start to show up. Right. So now am I getting into this space of, do I feel safe? Right. Do I have my emotional needs met? Then I get into the psychology of it all. Am I in a space to say, I am feeling like I belong, like I add value, like people see me? Am I really being intentional about knowing that wherever I am, I'm supposed to be there and people are going to meet me where I am on my own journey without judgment, knowing that I am enough and that even if things are not perfect, I am still making steps towards that. Do I belong? Am I supposed to be here? Do I believe I'm supposed to be here? And then at the top of that is self actualization. It means that I am fully aware of who I am at every single level in my needs hierarchy. I'm fed, I'm clothed, and I have shelter. I'm feeling safe, and I know how to express when I'm not safe. I know that my circles and my communities, I am supposed to be there. They reinforce me. I belong. I have emotional well being, and I can feel when I am not in my best and begin to then do things about it. That's that self-actualization, right? It's the highest awareness of ourself and being able to kind of see ourselves operating in these spaces and understanding what our motivations are. Good morning, Dr. Donna Dundas. Nice to see you. Happy Thursday. Blessings right back to you. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So I sent you on this journey to understand what your motivators are, because what we needed to understand is when you're at your best and when you're in your shadow, how do your motivations show up? Because a naturally intrinsic person may be extrinsically motivated if they're in a shadow cycle, meaning other behaviors are the things that are calling out, I need to have my needs met. So, who in here took the survey or took the ALP, right? It stands for Actualized Leader Profile. My grad school professor built and created this, and then I got certified in it, which means that I can go in and I can teach this to other people. And I'm certified. He has 3 modalities, right? So there's the ALP, there's what's called group culture, which means what is the culture of your company or your organization. And then he's got a 360, which is I did all of this work and now I can get peers. All right, so we have a fair amount of people who took it. Some of you reached out to me directly and took it. Okay. Thank you for those who reached out to me directly and said, I took it. I can't wait to talk about it. All right. So each of these has a color associated with it. So let's spend some time. And listen, if you want to take it now, while we're talking about it, before we wrap up our conversation, thank you, Martian Queen, okay, for taking it. Then the website is alpfree.com. Okay. alpfree.com. Right? All of that can happen right now. It's a very short survey. You don't have to spend a ton of time doing it. But if you want to understand what we were doing and you may have missed Tuesday's stream or haven't been in the replay yet, you can go do it. So the website is alpfree.com, alpha lambda phi free.com. All right. Anybody want it before we get going? Anybody want to take a guess at which one I am? Anybody have any guesses? So there's three of these that you could have been when you took this. Anybody have a guess if you remember? That you should be able to see all three. It should have explained it, and then you just Tawana says pink. Any other guesses? Three. What? So what are you associating three with, DJ Purpose? So I will tell you. I'm just waiting to see if there's any other guesses or suggestions in the chat, and then I will absolutely tell you, and then I will tell you how that relates to motivation, right? Oh, okay. You didn't see him? Okay. So Tawana says pink. I don't know where pink came from. I love it. So I will tell you what I am. So first of all, is anybody else taking the assessment now? It's alpfree.com. You were pink. Okay. Tawana, got it. All right. So there's three types of things that motivate us. We can either be motivated by affiliation. Okay, thank you, Amy Key. We can either be okay, thank you, Crystal Method. We can either be motivated by affiliation, by achievement, or by power. Okay. If you are motivated by affiliation, that means that, thank you, ads, right? That means that you are motivated by relationships. You value being able to be associated with relationships. You like the ability to know that you can connect with people. You are okay. Okay, DJ Purpose. Thank you. So there's a lot there. So the folks who are motivated by affiliation, right? We are called affirmers. I am an affirmer. I am a severe affirmer in all of the best ways, right? Severe affirmer. What that means is that I am, and when I am at my best, right? I'm very friendly. I can be extremely generous. I'm very loyal. I am an extremely loyal person, probably to a fault. I am highly empathetic, which is what I think makes me good at the work that I do. Okay, Tawana. And I'm also very helpful, right? So Tawana says that she's an affirmer too. Now, each of these, and I'm going to go over achievers and asserters in just a moment, but each of these has, when you're at your best, these are the behaviors that people always experience from you. When you are trending towards your shadow in that medium column, if you're looking at it, as an affirmer, when I am feeling like some of my needs are not being met, all right, Hobbs, you're an affirmer as well, right? So if you're an affirmer, put a pink or a red emote in the chat. Just find your favorite pink or red emote, because this is going to help us understand why we do what we do. And then we're going to talk about achievers and we're going to talk about asserters in just a moment, okay? So shout out to the affirmers that are there. I am a severe affirmer. So, right, I took the entire assessment, because the entire assessment is actually really long. Okay. And when you get your score back, excuse me, when you get your score back, you actually see how much of an affirmer, an achiever, an asserter you are. My whole chart looked like this. My achiever and my asserter are like tiny bits on there. So I am really into people. People is my jam. Okay. Y'all are my jam. Zabohu Ikigai, E Smiley, Hobbs, My Life Journey, Tawana, all affirmers. Love it. Okay. All of that. But when I'm in the middle of, when I'm trending towards a shadow, when I feel like some of my needs are not met, whether it's my psychological needs or whether it's my emotional needs. Disco Darren, welcome in, King. Nice to see you. I think, Disco Darren, that you are probably an asserter, if I had to guess. So when I'm in the middle of all of this, right, and I'm not feeling like my needs are being met, I can show up as very sensitive, meaning a comment that someone makes that I normally would let roll off my back might stick with me a little longer. right? I may show up as more insecure. McKee, you're an affirmer. Shout out to the affirmers in here. Big Ed Smith, welcome in, King. Happy Thursday to you. Thank you so much for being here. We are talking about motivation and the things that motivate us, okay? And really getting into some shadow work and kind of digging in a little bit. So happy to see you. I can also be insecure. Right now, insecurity is something that I've always dealt with. That comes from some childhood things. So when I learned about this in grad school, this part did not surprise me at all. I can be indecisive. And for me, indecisiveness is one of those things that is a result of my insecurity. When I am sure about something, I'm sure about it. If you say to me, Kim, you want to do this? Yes. If I look at something and I'm trying to make a decision about things, I will scroll through something. And the minute something connects with me, I am decisive about it and I will not deviate away from it. And it will end up being a very positive decision for me and it will yield those benefits. Good morning, Luciana 1908. Luciana says that she is an affirmer as well, right? But when I'm in that medium space between operating at my best and trending towards my shadow, I can get complacent. And then I can be overly accommodating. Now, being an accommodator is a part of my nature. I'm a Southerner. I like people to be comfortable in my home. I want you to come in and feel good. I want you to get good energy. But sometimes I can over accommodate to the point where I am now overextending myself. And I'm in a place where I'm saying, now I'm doing more than I need to so that I can make sure you are super comfortable. And that tends to lead to me putting others' needs above my own all the time. Crystal Method says she's an affirmer. Disco Darren says he's an asserter, right? Not surprising, Disco Darren. Okay. And I love this because as I'm getting to know you, as I read, right, because I've not met everybody in person. So as I read your comments, as I get connected to you in these spaces, it will help me get to know you even through this assessment. Listen, Hobbs, we find ourselves in the middle of these cycles all the time. Double Spirit, you're an asserter. Okay, so we're going to go to the asserters next, and then we will go to the achievers because somebody else sent me a message yesterday and said they were an asserter. And then they were like, I'm surprised because you see the words and you think, what? Is this really me? But one of the distinctions that I want to make is remember, shadow behaviors are when we're not operating at our best. Good morning, Marcia No Brady. Shout out to you as an affirmer, right? Remember, these words are also describing us when we're operating at our best and we're human. So we're kind of ebbing and flowing, meaning at some point, we're always somewhere between I'm feeling good, I got enough sleep, I'm full, and nobody's bothering me to I wish the world would just go away, right? So when as affirmers, when we are not at our best, you don't want any of this smoke, right? We can be very possessive. We can be anxious. And sometimes our anxious behavior shows up in really interesting, unique ways. Okay. Really interesting, unique ways. We can show up as naive, meaning, man, I didn't even realize that that was something I needed to pay attention to. Again, not all the time, right? Not all the time, but sometimes, right? Sometimes we can show up as jealous, right? And sometimes it's not necessarily jealous of another person, but it could be jealous that we are not in a space where we want to be. Sometimes we're jealous of saying, man, I wish I could be that empathetic, when really in real life, we are empathetic. We just are in a cycle of saying, I don't want to do that. And yes, Boho Ikigai, right? Then we can be in a severe conflict avoidance stage, right? Which is why, ladies and gentlemen, avoidance is not a strategy. Where do you think me teaching you all about avoidance came from? I know that in my most darkest parts of my shadow, I will retreat to the trenches and I will completely shut down. Sea Love 702, thank you so much for the re-up. Appreciate you being here. Welcome in. I think I said good morning to you, but in case I didn't, I might not have. Good morning, Miss Soul Power. Peace and blessings right back to you, Queen. Thank you so much for being here. When I am at my darkest, I will absolutely shut down. And I will not do anything. I will avoid the world. And I will survive only into the spaces that I need to. And let me tell you guys a very, very personal story about me. And because I actually went through a very severe shadow period. It was about 18 months of my life that I went through this shadow period. And it took a while for me to get there. I hung out in sort of this medium space for a little bit. And then for a good year and a half, I was in the dark. And if you knew me then, and this was before Twitch or before anything, if you knew me then and people would ask me how I was doing, and I would just be like, I would tell people I'm off the grid for the next few days because the darkness is just, I feel it creeping over me. And I needed to just stay away because I didn't want to put that out there into the world. And so I didn't know what to do except to retreat. Now, I was a mom because I didn't have a choice, right? And I was working. I could turn it on, right, for work and be present because I needed to get resources to provide. But the minute I could shut everything down, I would retreat and just shut down. I didn't eat. I could not sleep. I had severe, severe insomnia. I had no extrinsic motivation. I didn't go out. I spent a lot of time in my house. And I did all the things inside of my house to make my house comfortable, but that was my avoidant behavior. I put all of my energy into my home, which was what I needed to do, but I was avoiding myself because I was in this dependent space where I could not move or manifest, right? I just literally stopped. Right. Yes, Tawana. Extremely, extremely, extremely. I have high functioning depression. So when I am capable of functioning, I was flying all types of high. I was showing up at work. Listen, I was depressed, folks, and getting promoted, right? I left Microsoft and went to a vice president role. I left at Zoom. I left Zoom and went to a chief. I was killing the game at work and dying at my house. I was fully operating in my shadow. I was only existing in the light where I needed to, but it was autopilot, right? You know how you walk into a room and the lights automatically go on, and then when you're done in that room, the lights shut off? That was me. Completely. Completely. I was in this space where I would go in and you couldn't tell me in meetings that I was not on, right? I was coming in, I was acing interviews, I was on podcasts, I was out there. And then I would put my kid to bed at night. I would make sure my dog was fed. I would do just enough housework so my house wouldn't be a mess. And then I would cover up my head and shut down. Right. I had, listen to me, folks. This is the most vulnerable that I'm getting ready to be, right? I was fully ignoring my own needs. I was taking care of others, right? I was not securing things. Listen to me. I literally had clothes in my bathtub for a year. I just put them there. I don't know if they were clean or dirty. They were just there. I had a little pile of things that I was like, this is enough for me to survive on. Cause right. Cause remember, this was during COVID and I had moved, I had changed jobs. I had decided that I was going to, you know, get out of my marriage. And I was working through all of that and trying to prioritize, him and his feelings to make sure he was supported and knew that I was not going to just run out the door, right, while he was trying to get things stable, right? I was doing all these things. I was transitioning a kid into a new school and a new life during a pandemic. And I was driving back and forth to, home to support family and get other things done, right? And I was dying on the inside. And so I had this whole little pot. I had these 2 baskets of clothes, and I was like, these are the things that I can wear when I need to go out here. If I couldn't roll it up and put it in a backpack, it wasn't going with me. I had to know in advance that I was going to do something so that I could go to the closet to get those things done and have those clothes ready. Other than that, if it wasn't workout clothes, if it wasn't a t-shirt and a sports bra, it all sat in my bathtub. I literally didn't do massive amounts of laundry in my life for 18 months because I was living in my shadow. I had a severe shadow period and I was wildly depressed. I was functioning, but I was very depressed and I was not in this light part of who I am as an affirmer. When I was in the light, yes, I could be generous. Absolutely, I could be empathetic. Absolutely, I could be all these things. Good morning, Johnny. Nice to see you. Please give Beach United Radio a follow. Always good times in his stream. I think he is streaming today at noon, if I saw that correctly on Instagram, right? He is streaming today. Today is Thursday. Big Stove should be streaming tonight, I believe. Is it 8:30 Stove? If you're still in here, I think you, or if Big Stove is lurking, I think, right? So, um, so listen, folks, I was severely in my shadow. Okay, and I was very good morning, Stove. There you are. Sorry to call you out if you were lurking and listening, but I wanted to acknowledge that you also might be streaming later today. So listen, folks, I lived in this shadow for 18 months. I mean, the darkness, right? My life journey will tell you there were days that she checked on me. She was like, "How you doing, friend?" And I would literally say to her, "I'm off the grid for a few days because the darkness is creeping over me like I feel it." Period. And I wasn't doing anything. A McKee, that's a great question. A McKee says, "How did I exist for so long in that space? Did no one notice?" No, because when I was in the light, I could be like just enough light for no one to detect that something was wrong. Right. Hobbs, have an amazing day. Okay, the replay will be up a little later. All right. And then you can come back and check it out and then send any questions that you want my way, right? Via Whisper or via, IG or what have you. Okay. But I didn't really tell anybody because I was like I retreated to the darkness in ways. And so, my son is with his dad on the weekends. And listen, and Corey would come by and, he would pick him up from school. He would take him to soccer practice and he would say, "How are you?" And I'll be like, "I'm all right." I mean, I literally was like walking on ice. I did just enough so that people would not be too concerned. And then when I had moments to retreat, I would just retreat. And but on the surface, I was like the North Star that I truly, truly am. I was shining super bright. So no one had a reason to question anything because I was killing the game in real life, right? You see me on LinkedIn, you see people, right? Just all of that, right? It was a full on mask. And it wasn't an intentional mask. I just did not have the energy to push through and say to someone, "I need help. I need to stop. I can't do this." There literally was no time to stop. Who is going to feed this kid? Who is going to pay these bills? Who is going to make sure that life goes on? All of those things are my responsibility. And so you can't say to your 9-year-old, "Mommy can't do it today, sweetheart." Because then he would try to turn on the gas stove by himself and I couldn't let him burn the house down, right? Because he would say, "Well, don't worry, Mom, I'll make my own turkey bacon," which is fine, except that I've not taught him how to use the gas stove, right? And so I was just behind the scenes, right? I just put it away when I needed to. And inside my head, there was a whole conversation of, "All right, Kim, you need to pull yourself up and out so that I could be present." And it did. Right, Christy, right? I need to get to this other job. For me, I would say to people, you know what? I just need to, right? I just need to survive today. I just need to get to 8:30. When I put Avery to bed at 8:30 or whatever his bedtime was, right? Then I could just be like, "Okay, I'm done. That's it." Right. I bought enough groceries to make sure that the kid could eat. I ordered all of my I mean DoorDash for a full year and some change, right? I mean I cooked enough. I cooked at holidays. Everything else though, I just gave it all away. I didn't even worry about it. I didn't want to think. I did not have it in me at all. And so when my shadow was at my most severe, that is what it looked like. And I say all that to say I did not have any intrinsic motivation. I spent a lot of time trying to reassess what my life's purpose was because it was tied to a lot of social acceptance in certain places, right? I had some concerns about what other people were going to think about me because I knew that once things came out, right? So when it comes to like my personal life, I have a lot, my spouse and I share a lot of mutual friends, and people who love us both. And he's a good human. But there were all of these things around. Are people gonna like feel like they have to pick sides? And how do I make everybody else comfortable in knowing this? So I just prioritized all of that, but it absolutely drained and diminished what I had going on. Okay. So that is a deep, deep look into the affirmer world, right? We are amazing humans, but our shadows are really shadowy and deep and dark, right? Crystal Method says, challenged in a way where this has been used against you. Yes. And so this is why understanding your shadow, Crystal Method, helps you, because when you get like performance feedback at work, or when you have conversations with friends, and when friends say, man, I was really hoping you were going to do this, and this is the way that this is how you made me feel. Um, in those moments, I had to really get to a point where I said, thank you. Can I have some time to just reflect on that? Because I wasn't aware that that's what I was doing. Um, and I had to be intentional about saying, because I didn't know that, I may have acted in a way that is not normally me. And so there's a level of vulnerability that comes into all that. Good morning, Jen Martin. Nice to see you. Welcome in. We are talking about motivations and shadow behavior and how it all ties back to these types of motivations, Janelle. Okay. And so for me, this work has really been around, right? Double Spirit says, I described her 2021. So that's when I had my period. It was sort of the end of 2020 and all of 2021 for me. I didn't start to get to a place where the healing was creeping in until sometime in the end of 2021, the beginning of 2022. And even then, most of 2022 was me coming out of the darkness and just back to the medium parts. And then I had like shadow moments, right? Thank you, Crystal Method. That is literally why I'm here, right? My intent is to walk into my purpose. Tawana says, how did I get out of it? What made me stop retreating? Okay, so I think two things, Tawana. I'm going to answer it here. And then if you want to chat outside of the stream, can absolutely do that. Okay. The answer to the question, how I got out of it, was every single time I had a shadow moment, I just retreated and I did it immediately. I didn't wait. I stopped trying to say I didn't need that time. I would just say I need time. And I was okay not existing, right? Because existing is exhausting. That's not mine. That's Wiggs. I don't know if Wiggs is in here, but Wiggs used to say that to me all the time. Existing is exhausting, right? And so because I was just existing, it was exhausting, because you have to do the work to just exist. I think it was Stirs who said it when we were talking about avoidance. You do all the work. There's more work to avoid the thing that you need to do than to do the thing that you need to do, right? So I just decided that existing was exhausting. And then every time I had a shadow moment, Tawana, I would then immediately follow that up with, if there is something right now that would make me happy, what is it? And sometimes it was as simple as, I'm going to take a nap. Sometimes it was as simple as, I'm going to watch TV. Y'all, listen, y'all, I didn't watch TV for 2 years. I didn't watch TV at all. No news, no nothing. Nothing. Right? When I tell you, I was full on disconnected, right? I did not do any of that. So I had to make sure that I put in a happy behavior after every shadow behavior. Sometimes the shadow was just a Friday night. I would get to Friday, Avery would go stay with his dad, the dog would be situated, and then I would just stop. And I would be like, what's going to make me happy? Not cooking. Okay. So my budget is $25 on DoorDash. What am I going to buy in that time? Right. And then if that was the thing that would make me happy, that was my happy moment for the day. Sometimes it was simple as, I'm going to make sure that I get up and take a walk. It was getting sunshine in my day so that I would naturally feel outside and naturally feel the air and just get out of this space where things were existing. So I had to find one happy thing that would give me something to look forward to. And that would create that balance, because what happens is when the dark has nothing to balance it, it just continues to go over. So I had to start to create that balance so that there was a little less darkness. And then my dark cycle would shorten, because the faster I could get out of this dark cycle, Tawana, the faster I could get to, oh, so now I'm going to take myself out to eat, and I'm going to sit outside on a sunny day and listen to music. And all of those things then made me happy. And then my light would last a little longer, and my dark cycle would be a little shorter. Good morning, Letitia P. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. Does that answer your question, Tawana? Right? I had to really figure out how to balance my light moments, because my dark cycles were so extensive. And then it was really hard for me to come out of them. Really, really hard for me to come out of them. Yes, that balance is key. Okay. Super, super, super important. And the reason that that's key is because in your anxiousness and in your depression and in your naivete, you will surrender all of those balances. And that's where the indecisiveness comes in. That's where the accommodating comes in. Because the other thing is that you do these accommodating behaviors hoping that someone is going to do them for you. And when they don't, it lengthens your dark cycle and your shadow cycle for much longer. All right. Whew. Okay, y'all. So that was the affirmers. How much time do we have? I know we don't have much longer here, but I do absolutely. I'm happy to share my story. Listen, I only know my story, and I don't have any issues telling you all about me because I have no reason to lie and bring ridicule to myself. And if I at least tell you about me, then at least you know you're talking to somebody who is normal and human and has the same struggles as you. I am doing the work every day, ladies and gentlemen, every single day, right? Every day. So let's talk about asserters and achievers. I think we had a fair amount of asserters in here as well. So I want to be able to talk about that. Shout out to the affirmers in here. For everybody who feels seen, heard, and valued, know that you are. That this space is always about that. And I'm teaching all of this to you because you need to know yourself so that you can thrive professionally. Your shadow shows up on the professional side too. When people irritate you in email and when people do all types of things, right? It all shows up in that way, all of it. And so you got to understand that. So let's talk to the asserters in the room. Okay. The asserters in the room are, give me just a second, ladies and gents. Okay. So the asserters in the room, when you are in your best, you are confident, you're very decisive, competitive in a good way. Sometimes it's competitive for self because competition can be motivation. Does everybody understand that competition can be extrinsic motivation? You're motivated by other people who are just as good as you or who are doing dope things. And you're like, man, I want to be able to do that. And then you can high five your competition at the end. That's why athletes, professional athletes, you see them fiercely compete during the season and chop it up hard in the off season. You ever wonder why athletes are friends outside of the season? It's because that they are asserters, right? They like the competition. It's motivating. It's the thing, right? Think about these raid trains. Shout out to all the DJs that are in here, right? Let's use Rebomb as an example. And this is all from a place of love, right? But we all know LV sets a very high standard for everybody who is on Rebomb, right? Because he knows what they are capable of, because he holds himself to that same standard. And I'm not saying Rebomb is a competition. What I'm saying is you know you're going to be alongside of 9 or 10 other dope, amazing people who are doing their thing. And there is nothing but love and shouts and all types of good energy coming from that throughout the whole day. You go into everybody's right stream, and it's like, man, so-and-so killed it. So-and-so killed it. You see it in the chat before you get to DJs are coming into the stream hours before they stream just to hear what's going on and show love and give salute, right? That's that asserter in them. It's that competition as motivation. It's that drive to be able to say, man, I am in here doing it, right? Good morning, LB. Nice to see you. Good morning, Sega. Welcome in. Give both of these gents a follow, right? Sega said it, iron sharpens irons. And that is the space that these folks are in. And I wanted to give you all a very relevant example because we see it. We see it every single time they do that. It's the energy and the way that LV sets the tone. He says it. I want you to get into this stream and let the DJ that you're in make you forget about the person that you were just in. That is intentional, healthy competition. And sometimes that is the best type of intrinsic motivation because it allows you to show up. It allows you to prepare. It allows you to operate at your highest potential, right? Folks are coming into the chat. I want to make sure I said hello. I said good morning to LV. I said good morning to Sega, Disco Darren. Right. All of these things, right? All of this is intentional, right? And so think about Miss Soul Power said she's an asserter. Martian Queen said she's an asserter. Right? All of that happens. And it is very much an iron sharpens iron space. Thank you for being here, Sega. The other things that happen when you are an asserter, right, is you're very candid, right? You're very direct in your delivery. LV talks about this, right? Sometimes people's directness is not for everybody. Some people cannot handle that, but you are a straight shooter. You're intentional about your communication, how you want to say it, what you want people to know, how you want to ensure that we are getting things across so that we're not being miscommunicated to or not being misunderstood. And there's a lot of courageousness there for the folks who are asserters, okay? Asserters who are on their way to the shadow. All right. When you're on your way to the shadow, right? Asserters can come across that confidence that asserters have can be misunderstood as arrogant. And remember, this is when you're not at your best. So you might not be arrogant all the time, but in moments where you're not confident or whether you're in your shadow behavior, right, you can be perceived as arrogant. Disco Darren says that he's very direct, sometimes to a fault. That can happen, right? People can experience you that way. Okay. Asserters can also be impatient, right? Not now, right now. Love you, LV, mean it. Okay. Not now, right now. But it is that energy of, come on, right? Like, what's taking so long? I want to make sure this gets done. It's that sense of urgency in overdrive because you have a place that you want to get to and you know you need to accomplish something. You know you want, right? Especially when other people have a role in you getting something done, that impatience can show right up. Usually in asserters, it's the first thing that shows up. And then in their impatience, it triggers their arrogance. And so they move from confidence to in that space, right? Sometimes asserters can be condescending, right? It's where wittiness extends past sarcasm. And now you're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to shortchange all of that. Very blunt, very domineering, right? Just sort of in that I'm inferior, right? I got that, right? It's just that mental attitude. double spirit. I love it, right? I love it. this emoji, right? But these, right? You have to know yourself because you have to then know that intrinsically you can be motivated when you're in the light. You can then shift as you get towards your darkness, and then that becomes the way you show up because now people are not experiencing you in the light or at your best. They're getting your shadow. Okay. We are going to wrap up with talking about asserters and talking about the darkness. We will pick up on Monday and talk about achievers because I don't want to roll over too long. And then Christy, when I say we're ready, we're going to go to Beezus to the DJ today. Okay. But hang tight with me. I will let us know whenever we are going to go out of there, get out of here. Okay. Yes. Janelle says when she's exhausted. A lot of assertive coworkers, right? And hopefully this is helping you all because now you're starting to see when my shadow comes up. It's not just triggered by hunger. It can be triggered by other things. And you start to know, oh, my impatience shows up when this, so you can be better, right? When we know better, we do better. When asserters are in their shadow, and listen, asserter shadows don't look like affirmer shadows. Affirmer shadows are like, I just got to shut down and retreat because I may actually lay hands on somebody inappropriately, right? Or I don't have it, okay? When an asserter is in their shadow, they can be very belligerent. If they are at the most extreme behavior, Disco Darren says he has been called an asshole before and he can own it. All good, Darren. You got to know who you are, right? Sometimes asserters can also be intolerant, right? I have zero tolerance for BS, for stupidity, for anything that's not about moving us forward in the right direction, right? Sometimes, right? Anybody in here as an asserter ever say, forget all of this, I'm just going to do it all myself. I don't have time. I cannot tolerate waiting for you, excuses, anything else. I'm just going to do it myself. Right. Letitia P says, that's me. Martian Queen says, that's me. Right. all of that. Right. Forget out of here. Sometimes asserters can be rude or manipulative. Right. I will say things the way that I want in order to get you to do what I want you to do, the way I want you to do it, when I want you to do it. So instead of using influence, I'm just going to manipulate the situation because I'm not tolerant of you, your excuses, or anything that you got going on. And I may communicate it in a way that's rude, right? And a little autocratic. I'm going to just take over this whole thing. Everybody get out the way because I'm in the building. Yes, the call is 06. You can shift between these. That's a great question. And so, Tawana, you are saying that that is you, right? And sometimes your shadow can show up in these ways, right? So, as I'm talking about the asserter, what may happen, Tawana, is that while you might be a strong affirmer, you may actually have asserter as like your second most prominent one. And when you take the full assessment, it will show you how much of an affirmer you are, how much of an achiever you are. So affirmer is your dominant, but you may have a second, right? For me, my second is achievement, right? Because I am detailed, I am organized, I'm structured, I can be very serious, right? All of those. So mine is that. And sometimes as an affirmer, these are things that just may show up. So remember, your dominant is probably likely more of where you are the most time, but you can have shadow behaviors of all three, right? It's all there 100%. And so for the asserters in the room, right, when you are at your best, that competition then begins, right, takes you from yes, yes, yes to now you come into this whole other space. So it's important because your motivations will shift based on if you are in your shadow to severe depths or whether you're sort of in the middle or whether you're operating in the light. Okay. And as we think about all of this, and so for anybody who's interested in taking the full one, right, because we're going to wrap this up on Monday as we introduce moderation. So I will finish up talking about the achievers. I will do a recap of this. So we'll hang in this motivation slide because this is really where we are talking about what motivates us. Are we motivated by power, right? Because asserters are motivated by power and control. I've got all of that, right? All of these things that are taking place. Okay. So when we think about where we are going and how it's showing up, you want to make sure, right? As an affirmer, you're motivated by relationships. Relationships, people give you energy, acceptance. But the thing that we fear is, right, there's this fear of rejection and betrayal, right? Everybody has their shadow fear or their shadow thing that they don't want. I'm not talking too deep about that today because I just wanted to go over it, but I will wrap up with that on Monday. Okay. E. Smiley says, she has a coworker that is an asserter, right? Sometimes you can do that. Right. But Disco Darren, right? When you're moving towards your shadow, when people are irritating you, that confidence becomes arrogant. And that's what we're right. And then you're motivated in your arrogance. Does everybody understand why I'm keeping this slide up? Because sometimes you need to understand that you can be motivated in your shadow and you show up as a completely different person versus being motivated when you're at your best and you're not being motivated by something from within. You're now motivated by acceptance, by other things, right? By having control, by having position, right? And finding yourself away from struggle, right? All of these things are in place. Okay. So, thank you for letting me dive in to all of this and sort of extend our motivation conversation. I thought it was important for you to start to do a little bit of this work because as we do the work of self, as we talk about professional development, as we talk about making sure that whatever it is that you want to be good at or successful at, you can do, you kind of have to know yourself. So we're peeling back the onion a little bit. Thank you all for letting me tell you my story this morning and being very vulnerable with you, right? It's not easy to tell people that you let laundry sit in your bathtub for 18 months, but I did. And I'm better for it, right? And every day is not a easy day, but I have high awareness of when I am like, I'm feeling like something is going on. And when we talk on Monday, I'll tell you what the signals are for me, right? All of those things are very intentional about how and now I recognize what my signals are when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, and then I can say it out loud. But that comes as a result of 2 and 3 and 4 years of shadow work. Thank you, Sega, for the boss bits. I appreciate you. All right. All of these things are ways that we can ensure that we're operating at our highest potential, right? And that we are being our most authentic self. LV, this is why you're my person, right? Because you are talking my language about having laundry from 2020, right? There's stuff, listen, the bathtub is not as full, but there's still stuff in there. And for me, that's my litmus test is like when that space is nice and clear, my healing has come to a new place. And everybody has their own temperature checks of these things to know that they are healing, that they are doing better. Because as you do the work on the inside, know that you are going to shine and thrive and not just survive on the outside. When you volunteer as a parent, as a spouse, as a partner, as a sister, as a caregiver, as whatever your profession is, you've got to do the work, folks. And I'm not just over here talking to you about emotional intelligence because I want you to think it's a good topic. It's because you got to own it for yourself and be really intentional about what this looks like, right? Sega. Right. So all of this is really, really intentional, right? Janelle says doing the work allowed her to recognize when she's getting there and result in faster recovery. Absolutely. You feel yourself trending towards that dark cycle. And so, how do you retreat and find your path to recovery? It's all about doing the work, okay? And all about knowing that you are worth it, all right? So, with that, we're going to extend our motivation conversation just a little bit next Monday as we introduce moderation and keep moving through our month of momentum. Thank you again for letting me be super vulnerable to you and using my story so that you could absolutely see. Yes, yes, Darren, that is exactly why they refer to you as the Black Tony Soprano at work. Okay. All of that is the case. Dr. Dady Priest, thank you so much for the support and love as always, right? You already know how I feel about you. You are wonderful, wonderful. So I take your compliments very, very much, to heart because I appreciate you. So, all right, folks, we are about 5 minutes over. So, Christy, let's go ahead and get the raid message up. Listen, thank you all for being vulnerable, for listening, for understanding that you are not alone, for letting me coach you from my most vulnerable place, which is my own life story. Okay. We will pick this up on Monday morning. Okay. We are going to go over and spend a little time with Beezus the DJ. Please copy the raid message. I am sending you into your Thursday and into your weekend with all of the good energy and light you will need to guide you. Take very good care of yourselves, and we will speak again on Monday.